All right, everybody. Bob Turner back with you on the Summit podcast. We're here at the Content Room at 95 India Street in Portland, Maine. Mitchell Powers from Powers Promotion has been good enough to let us set up camp here and do another one. We're here with Heather Mayer today. She's a local real estate broker. I'm excited to get to chat with her a little bit. But first, we got to pay the rent a little bit. One of our sponsors is Turner Builders. We do renovations, kitchens, bathrooms, decks, basements, you name it. If it's attached to a house, we can handle it. So that's my real job, so to speak, and the thing that I'm supposed to be doing when I'm podcasting. But anyway, also, thanks again to Mitchell for having us in here. This is a great space, and sometimes I forget to mention it. It's a great space, and it's available to you if you're somebody that wants to start a podcast or come in or have a client or do some video, things like that. Hit him up. We can tell you how to get a hold of him. So anyway, on with the show. So we're here with Heather Mayer. Heather, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. I just met you a couple of weeks ago at a different event, and so it was good to get to know you a little bit. And we got talking, and as you know, she stepped in my trap, and I said, "You should be on my podcast." so here we are. Thanks for coming. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am not from Maine. I am from away.
You ain't from around here.
Yeah, but I moved here in 2006 from Boulder, Colorado,
Nice.
and fell in love not only with the Maine lifestyle, but mostly the people. I just the down to earth, kind of practical, and no drama type of people. That's like sort of speaks to me. So
Sure.
and I got into real estate kind of by accident, which I think a lot of people do because it's not one of those careers that I had sort of thought as a kid growing up, like one day I'm going to grow up and be a real estate agent.
Right.
Because to be honest, the bar is pretty low. It requires a GED.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got into real estate in 2011 by working at my now ex-husband's family's title company.
Okay.
And I love doing it because I got to wear my favorite hat, which is Nancy Drew, and be the detective and research properties, put together closing statements, and because I had no idea what a title company did. And I was like, sure. They had someone going out on a medical leave, and I had just finished writing this book with Maine Biz, and I know that the topic of this is summit, and I had reached a summit that I had initially thought that was, my ultimate, which was writing a book. I thought that was.
What's the name of the book?
Maine, the Pine Tree State, on a coffee table near you.
No kidding. All right.
It's really a collection of interviews of businesses throughout the state of Maine. But
neat.
So that was my opus. And I realized, wow, this lifestyle of being a writer is not for me.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize until too late that I'm quite extroverted. So the whole thing of being in my PJs and sitting at a desk, all day, sending my kids off to school, they come back, they've done this, talked to this person, I'm still in my slippers.
Still writing.
Yeah. So I was kind of at a crossroads and kind of went into this role temporarily and then really sort of fell in love with the industry. And then from there transitioned to getting my license in 2011. And it's been going strong ever since.
Been a while, 12 years or so, huh?
Yeah. So the thing that's been very interesting is that it's been a market frankly, on the upswing, my entire career trajectory.
Right.
So 2011 2013 was when I started doing brokerage.
Yep.
So that's when things were really starting just to like creep up. And then 2016 is when we started hearing about a multiple offer situation. And it's pretty much been that way since 2016, 2017.
Been a wild ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that's cool. I know that we were talking about this before we turned the camera on it. I said, hey, I'm going to ask you about interest rates, right? And one of the things that I've heard is that, and I've talked to a few different brokers, I say, hey, what about interest rates? Well, yeah, interest rates are up. However, we're not seeing the bidding wars, or some things are selling closer to asking. Is that even true? Or
Negative.
Yeah. Mitchell and I were talking about that before. He's like, no way, dude. The house beside my dad is like 640 and it should be 4 or whatever.
Yeah.
So things are still like going for more than they really should. So that that takes out of play the people that need it to appraise, right?
Well, not necessarily. So there's a bunch of different things going on here. So, to speak to the interest rate situation. So last month, I'm a big believer in, in professional development, personal development, and we can talk more about that. But
Sure.
I went to this national conference for Keller Williams, and it was really great. I like to see things from kind of a top-down perspective, not only from a national perspective, and then our team leaders and operating principals, they will kind of drill it down into the local. But basically, interest rates historically, the average is 6 to 9%. What we had during the COVID years, it's highly unlikely that we're going to see 2 and 3% interest rates
Super
again in
low.
our lifetime.
Yeah.
So basically what we kind of had happen in the last quarter of 22 was this combination of raising interest rates, the talk of recession, and the interest rate, because it was such a marked increase from what we had been, it just froze everything kind of in its tracks. And so, but when you look at it from kind of a wider perspective, you realize, oh, okay, 5.5, 6.5,
Really more the norm.
it's pretty average.
It's like looking at the stock market, right? It's performed historically 10% over the history of time, right?
So I kind of liken it to like childbirth. It's like we were too close to the memory of 2%, 3% to make it make sense to purchase with 5, 6. But now it's like, okay, as the memory of that kind of goes in the distance and you're like, all right, I'll have another kid. I'll buy another house.
Right. And it just becomes the new norm, right? I
Right.
think that everybody got adjusted to that.
Yeah.
And somebody said to me the other day, like, well, how was it when you bought your first house? I'm like, I don't know, 6 or 7%. Oh, really? So it has been that high, so
Right, yes.
right. So but when
Perspective,
my
yeah.
folks bought a house, you were looking at 12, 13% back in, I don't know,
Yeah.
way back when.
Right. And so the other piece that to address really is just the lack of inventory, which is a culmination of many different things. One is that people who bought during the 2 and 3%, they're like, well, why should I give up that interest rate? So they're more likely to stay in a house and not sell. So those people might be staying a little bit longer than maybe, even though they might have outgrown it, or maybe now the kids have left and it's too big, but where are they going to go?
Right.
But the piece is that since the housing crash in, '06 or whatever, that builders have completely been underdeveloping to keep up with the population. So it is really unfortunate because I do feel like it's going to create this kind of have and have nots, homeowners and renters. That divide will be wider, and which is truly a shame because home ownership is truly such an incredible way to build wealth.
Yeah.
And I 100% believe in that American dream. And that's one of the things that excites me and helps me get up every day, is to help people, purchase their home and, start creating wealth, or to leverage that home to buy their next home or to buy an investment property. It's very rewarding.
Yeah. Well, cool. It's, and you had a banner year last year.
I did.
Was that repeatable? Like, what do you do? Like, we all want, if we go here, we want to go here. I mean, how do you go? And that was pretty darn good year.
Thank
you. Do you see that happening again, or?
This is a great question because I've been doing a lot of thinking about my goals and I have a love-hate relationship with goal setting because I do feel like on one hand it's like it's a little arbitrary. Like, okay, so last year I sold like 27 million as an individual agent. So do I say 30? 35?
Right.
It just sort of feels a little bit
Yeah.
like, I think on the whole, people like to think of 10% maybe increases. But the thing is that I want to look at not only what I accomplished professionally, but also personally. And to be honest, I was probably in a very, it was definitely bordering towards workaholic.
I got to tell you that's a lot. That's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Right? So, and you have 2 daughters.
Right. And so for me, this is also a big banner year, 22, because my youngest one just graduated from high school and was starting college. So that definitely gives you a moment. And I've been a single full-time mom for many, many years. And so honestly, have been just focused on my daughters and my work. And so with the daughter piece, again, it's not that, I've hung up my parenting hat, with you've have a child out of college.
That's what you signed up for. Yeah.
But, it's a different, it's a new transition, So, so just kind of thinking about, I've been sort of a one-trick pony, so to speak, with just like do it, work. So it's.
I've enjoyed that transition with Bailey, where she'll call me when she's trying to talk through something or whatever, and It's not like, it's less daughter dad type stuff than just kind of collaborative. Like, all right, what's next for me, and let's talk about that. It's kind of cool. Like, I'm not saying, hey, you need to do this, or you need to do that. It's like she's doing things, and I'm like, I'm really proud of you. Great job.
It's a tough transition, this like quasi pseudo adulthood of like this 18 to 21ish, when they're still they're on the payroll, they're on the family payroll.
Yeah.
But the whole thing of but I'm an adult. Did you make my car payment?
Cell phone, car payment.
Right. So so that that's a shift. And then also just sort of looking at, well, what do I want this decade to look at? And actually this 2023 is going to be a big year for birthdays.
Oh, wow.
Anything that ends in a 0, gets you thinking. So
well, happy birthday early.
Oh boy.
I hit that a couple years ago, but
So it's just one of those things that so going back to a very long-winded answer to your question, my goal actually has shifted. I have decreased my my sales goal, because realistically we are at there were a third less transactions basically essentially in this quarter.
This quarter, yeah.
I mean, that's significant.
Yeah.
And considering I don't even know how many realtors there are in Maine right now, but there's going to be a little lag time where you've got the people that got into the business in the last couple of years who are doing maybe a transaction here and there. And then, that's not going to be sustainable for them to be in it for the long term.
Yeah.
So, but they're going to, and I don't begrudge anyone who's, doing, small amounts of deals, but the people that, are maybe doing it sort of part-time-ish, with there being less to go around. I mean, there's just less pieces of the pie to go around. People who are doing it on the part-time will probably kind of fall to the wayside.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is because I've been doing the contracting thing for, I think this is year 19, and there's a certain amount of value to having been in the business a while, right?
Yeah.
So your, how do I want to say this? Your clientele, your opportunities sometimes become better, right?
Absolutely.
So you have, we're into some larger stuff. Mm-hmm. So people that are doing larger stuff maybe aren't so affected by a few points on the interest rate, right? Or maybe there's not a mortgage broker in the deal or whatever, and it's this or that. So sometimes when you get to that higher level client, they're making moves regardless.
Right.
They're doing their thing.
Right.
Like,
And I mean, the benefit of being in the business for, over 10 years is that, actually, this is kind of funny. I had someone call me up that I had met maybe 3.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. We looked at houses for maybe a good 6 months, and then they decided the market was too hot. They tapped out and were refocusing to look at New Hampshire. So then they called me. They had my number, thankfully, and they saved it. And they called me on Tuesday, said, hey, we want to see this property. We've decided that we do want to look at Portland. They look at it yesterday. We write an offer at 4:00. We're under contract by 7 p.m.
Amazing. Yeah.
And so which is amazing. And that is one of the best things about real estate. And the worst things is that your luck can change on a dime.
Right. Yeah. And you really, I always joke with guys, because a lot of the people that I interview are entrepreneurs, and I say you traded your 9 to 5 for a 24/7.
Yeah.
And real estate, I would say, is in that.
Right.
I got a text last night at 9:30 from a customer, and, wasn't any big deal, but it's still it's up in your business a little bit. Yeah. For your weekend or your evening or whatever.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing is that, so for me, I was with another company for most of my tenure as an agent. And as I was contemplating these big shifts, with my daughter's going to college and, this looming birthday and just again, like I said, it makes you think. And so what I realized was that in order for me to not just be this one trick pony and not just be focused on work, I didn't necessarily want to, I wasn't willing to let go of the income level that I wanted to keep achieving. Well, maybe a little bit, but I realized that I wanted to buy back my time because that in the end is all we have, truly. And I just didn't want to wake up 10 years from now and be like, would it have really mattered if I'd sold 28 million versus 20? And if I sold 20 and had, like wonderful vacations and quality time with friends and family. They're not stressed out and working 7 days a week. Yeah. So you really just kind of revisit your goals and start thinking about what is my vision, what is my values, and what is my lifestyle? And are these aligned?
Well, not to get back to the birthday thing, but you get to a certain age and that kind of stuff starts, there's a shift.
Yeah.
And you start going, well, I'm maybe about halfway there or a little more. How do I want the rest of this thing to play out?
Right. And exactly.
The things that are important to you might change a little bit where, we all like to make a ton of money and all that, but, you got 2 daughters, so you value your time with them. You know, I'm looking at, hey, how can I make it so I can work from anywhere, say?
Yeah.
So if I want to shoot out to Dallas and spend the month of February or something out there and see her for a while and let this little bit of snow melt around here, I can do that.
See, yes. Yeah. And that's something that, with real estate is very hyper local. You can't, that is not something to do direct brokerage that you can do from a remote situation. However, if I have grown a team and I've got people that I trust that, I'm somewhere warm and enjoying things. I mean, I happy to get on a Zoom and troubleshoot things like that. But, and that's part of my goal of this year is to really get dialed in with a really rock star transaction manager, executive assistant who's going to be willing to grow into a director of operations role. So this is my plug for anyone who's listening.
That was going to be my question. Like, how do you do that on your own? That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have had some part-time assistants. And, I will be completely honest. I didn't know how to manage people because it was one of those things. I don't have a master's in business. Maybe I wasn't a natural at it. And I just was more of the mindset of like, I'll just, rather than explain it, I'll just do it myself. That's the problem of the solopreneur, right?
So there's 2 books that come to mind. I always recommend books now is Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Have you read that?
No.
You should. I'll send you the link. And the other one's Who Not How.
Not How.
So, and it's all about, I've got to get this done. No. Who can I get to get this done? And it's just all about how it's just like what you said, just getting back your time so that now you're the person that's like, you're getting the listing, you're making the introduction, you're doing, one of the principles in the Buy Back Your Time book was the 10-80-10 rule, where you're kind of staying in it. You initially do the first 10% of whatever the task is or the interaction, and then somebody else does the middle 80% of the heavy lifting, and that might be your executive assistant.
See, that would be amazing.
And then it's the last 10%. You come in and go, Pachoo. So buying back
I love that.
Yeah. So I've looked at all the same things. So you mentioned travel. You traveled a bunch last year.
Yes, travel is a huge passion of mine, and it's definitely again thinking about what kind of lifestyle do I want, and I think I read this quote that travel is the one thing you can purchase that will make you richer, and I 100% agree. It's getting out of, your comfort zone, getting out of the same old. It enlivens me. It is just so enriching. So I did. We went to Italy. I've been to Costa Rica. I'm right now in the works. We're trying to iron things out for this summer. I think we really do. I love Europe because again, you got the culture, and if we do something, near the ocean or a lake. So we're thinking maybe Switzerland or maybe the south of France. So
Do you take your executive assistant with you?
no, but the funny thing is, this is actually a funny rule of thumb with real estate, and it's probably with you as well with, with construction, is that the minute you go out of town, that's when your phone starts ringing.
Oh, it's brutal. I took Ryan, the guy that works with me, to Denver last fall. We told all our customers months before we went, we're out of commission, we're out of town. When we left the guys that were working with directions and everything, and Monday morning at 7:15, the whole world blew up. You know, and it's just the way it goes.
It's really like there's a little disturbance in the force, and the clients are like,
"Yep,
something just happened."
Yep.
But it is, I mean, literally without fail, every single time I go on vacation, I end up having someone who has to write an offer for me, or something to that effect. So,
but the beat goes on, right?
Yeah.
And I've told guys like that I've worked with, coaching or whatever, like in the big scheme of things, in the 365 days, like if something happened in February and you got through it, or you took an extra day off, turn back around and look back, come about November.
yeah,
You really feel it.
right.
Did you recovered from it? Yes. You made it. Was it ideal when it was happening? Probably not. Would have been better to be there? Yeah. But what happens? What kind of business owner or, representative, broker are you if you don't ever get any time?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, it enriches you. And
yeah. And so I'm a big believer also in coaching and really having someone else. I personally am a very collaborative person in the sense that I do value other people's feedback and because it can help me see things from a different way. So I actually right now decided to contract with this company called Your Realty Leverage, and they are kind of spearheading the search for my executive assistant, director of operations, and it is so amazing because they are doing kind of that initial, like you're saying, this is that 10, 80, 10. Yeah. So they're going through the resumes, this and that. And there was someone that they sent me a little video clip from a Zoom they did. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be great. Like, I totally think. And so, cause I get excited. I'm like, yes, like this is it. Let's stop looking. And then they're like, okay, let's, slow your roll, Heather. And then they end up going another step further. And then it became clear to everyone involved that it wasn't the right candidate. And I was so grateful because had I just sort of pushed through, which is, I can be persistent maybe to a fault.
let's go.
Yeah, let's just make it work. Let's do it. And say like I had hired this person and then 2-3 months later, then they show this isn't the right fit.
Right.
I've lost time, money, and now back to the drawing board.
One of the things I've learned about in the last year or so is assessments and using those on the front end to try to figure out like, how learned a lot about myself through that process, but also like I'm just hiring an admin now and like we're making sure that like on the wheel, like if I'm up here, I want somebody down here. Like
what assessments are you using?
DISC, DISC.
Yes.
Yeah, so like
what are you?
Guess.
You are a DI.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly.
See, I know people. I know people.
Wasn't it funny now how you start looking at it like, I think she's probably SC, maybe the SC, but I would say you're probably highest in I, and probably, but your S and C are probably pretty strong as well. So what we're talking about, guys, is DISC, which is D is for dominance, I is for influence, S is for steadiness, C is for compliance. Anyway, if anybody wants to do
they're free. It's a free assessment.
I can
Just Google
connect
it.
you with somebody to do that. So she's great, and she can read it for you and like interpret it. So
that's helpful.
Sidebar there, but so it's like relationship wise too. Like you look at it and you go, now if you're in the dating world, you go, hey, you mind taking this? This will take you about 15.
Just get back to me. That and your love language quiz.
And kick that over to me after. But getting back to that, like I want somebody in the office that's like SC.
Exactly.
So we did the assessment, and she was like higher D and I than I thought. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. But S and C was way up from what like Ryan and I are. So I know that on details and that kind of stuff that I want for bookkeeping and scoping out and speccing out jobs or whatever. she's going to be way stronger than us.
Yeah.
So
Well, exactly. And that's the thing is that you need to have someone that is complementary in a role like that because, right, if she's a high D, you guys are going to be butting heads,
right.
And
it was interesting because like you don't need when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh great, I'm gonna get to see what I suck at, like, and they're like, no, it's not about that. It's really like how you want to be communicated with,
right?
And if I know that someone's an S and a C, I understand how now to communicate with them so that I'm not just like just steamrolling somebody because I'm like, hey, I'm into the big picture,
Right, exactly.
Just get it done. No, they need like, how do you want it? Boom, 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 and then get out of my way,
right? Yeah.
So that's really interesting. We hadn't talked about that before.
Yeah.
The disc.
Well, and I'll tell you. So Keller, I mean, and one of the reasons why, many of the reasons why I decided to go with them is just their breadth of resources, and they have something that is the disc on steroids. It's called the KPA, which is the Keller Personality Assessment, and this thing is ridiculously off the charts accurate, and it goes it's like it's much broader than the disc. And if you're curious, I could get you in and get you, because it's helpful information because it really shows you kind of all the different scenarios that we're talking about, but in terms of, it actually goes into like structure, which I think is helpful, because if you've got someone who's going to be working on their own, they need to, how are they going to work with that? Are they going to kind of just sort of go off in the ether?
Exactly. One of the things that's helped with me too is like, okay, so I'm DI, like high, all of that, like 60I, 40D, something like that. And then there's your adapted style and all that. But,
right.
But how you are at work. But what I kind of figured out, like at my age, like, okay, let's face it, I don't love details. Okay. Why don't I hire somebody that can take care of the details?
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of where that's helped me. Where like, I'm done trying to beat my head against the wall, be better at this, be better. Let's just go let's get even better at the stuff that I'm good at.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's let so-and-so do this stuff that sucks.
But for them, it's their wheelhouse, and they love it.
God
So
bless them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Have a blast. Here's a few extra bucks. Have yourself a blast.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I want to be out like, I'm that gatherer of people guy. Like, hey, let's go climb Katahdin, or let's go do this. Or, if I'm involved in a group effort, I'm typically, if there's not somebody organizing, I'll be like, all right, let's go, let's do this.
Got it.
And I don't have to be in control, but a lot of the times I end up doing that because somebody else isn't, So anyway, that's interesting. And probably points to some of your success. You know what I mean? That the way you are on that, the assessment, where you're more suited to being outgoing and things that you would need to be as a real estate broker.
Right. I mean, and it's interesting because someone might say, oh, do you have to be extroverted to be, or outgoing, or a high I to be a realtor? And I know many introverted realtors that are successful. It's just maybe they're not going to get clients by attending a gazillion networking events. Me, I could network all day long. And with like little breaks, but
exactly.
that would be someone who's introverted. Yes.
For a SC.
Right. Exactly. Or someone who's super introverted, but, but they may really excel at the one-on-ones and just be really intent and mindful and intentional about follow through. So
I think it's really cool. I had it done on my whole team last year.
Nice.
I had like nine employees at one time for a short time. So I thought it was important to do that, and that, hey guys, this is how we're going to communicate better. So there's a pie chart thing where the goal is to get, dots all over this chart, right? So you have balance, right?
Yeah.
Every single dot is in D and I. I'm
really?
like,
oh my gosh. So did you make any big changes?
Oh yeah. It's just Ryan and I now. Yeah.
Wow.
So all of them went, and that's part of it. There was just like too many strong personalities, right? And that's probably a good part of why it didn't work.
Wow.
So one of them was pretty good with the details and that kind of stuff, and we were looking at, but it just didn't work. And so I'm a big believer in it, in it now. So switching gears a little bit, you're super active. We were talking, I always end up working out with people. And so we got talking about that. And so what do you do and how does that translate to a kind of a healthier real estate life?
So for me, my physical, mental, and emotional health is very important. It's a huge value. I spend a lot of time on it. And so physically, I mean, if I don't have the energy to get up and have the stamina to, stay up late, preparing a listing presentation, all that stuff, then what do you have? So that has to be the basis. And again, I am nowhere near perfect. I eat sugar. I like my wine, but it's all within you have
Everything in moderation.
Everything in
right?
moderation. For me, physical fitness is just super important. So I make time for it. So I work out 5-6 days a week in the morning, usually 6 a.m. If I've had a later night, I'll push it to the 7 a.m. But I really like a lot of variety.
Yep.
So that's where I vary my routine, but the time is the same. So I like to do Orange Theory fitness. I do that twice a week. I do Jibe cycling. And I've just incorporated F45 fitness. So I'm like the gym butterfly.
Sounds rough. F45 can't be good.
Oh my God. No, it's really fun and it goes super fast.
Yeah. Is it like HIIT training?
Yeah, it is. It's really fast.
Yeah.
And there's one in Westbrook. There's one in downtown Portland. And the coaches make it fun. And it's literally like the first time I did it, I was like, wait, we're done?
Right.
So that
it's
was a fun
time.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good when it goes by like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important. I mean, now more than ever, particularly as we get a little bit older, stay in shape, stay in sharp.
Right.
And also just how you present, right? Like you're in a very visible field, right? So when you show up and you're squared away and you're in shape, that says something about you, right?
Right.
As a prospective client and buyer, whatever.
Yeah. I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just about setting a standard for yourself
And your kids.
and your kids. Yeah. And that's the thing is that it's one of those things, hopefully, it will rub off on them. My daughters are not physically active, which is,
That may change,
but they've at least seen the,
Right.
the value that and the impact it has had on my life.
Well, and the two aren't mutually exclusive, right? Like you see people that, I mean, I've seen some really out of shape, poor health people be very successful, but I see more people that are in shape and taking care of themselves that end up being successful. So the correlation there isn't lost on me anyway. I think that there's a lot to that.
And, physical activity is just such a great stress reliever. So
It is.
Because these things are, building people's homes. It's a big deal. And people get very high emotions and
big
it's
time.
a lot to manage.
They do in real estate deals too.
Yes. Yes,
come
they do.
uncorked. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you seen more of that? Like since COVID, like everybody seems like they're like just off their rocker at times.
It's
very
there have
quickly.
definitely been, some situations that have been tense, but, I do try to I really do try to understand where they're coming from. And this is where it is helpful if you have, when I have had assistance. So then if I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot take another phone call from this person. Then you call hey, you need to call them and like you run, tag team them because so that's how, because for me, I try to be the leveling force. I don't, like if a client is getting amped up, one way or another, I try to just really keep it even, because my emotions aren't tied into it. Would I like the sale? Sure. But, this is where thankfully I don't need the sale. So when you're coming from a place of, I don't, if you don't like this house or if you terminate this contract, so be it. That you have to do what's right for you. And I think if hopefully they sense that I have that approach and it helps them make better choices.
Yeah, you're kind of selling from a place of abundance,
Right.
Where you're not, not desperate, and people sense that too.
Yeah.
Do you like to represent buyers or sellers or both? Or
So I like to consider myself a matchmaker
yeah,
with buyers. I'm helping them find the one,
yeah,
and then I joke, but I say with sellers, I say I'm helping them consciously uncouple.
that's
you
funny.
know, so but no, I mean there is something very satisfying about the buyer thing because it is this very tangible thing. Like you've actually this home, whether it's something that is only for a short period of time, a long period of time, their forever home, whatever. It's still very exciting because it's purchasing something. And the selling piece, usually you're helping them accomplish a goal so that they can go on to, either a bigger home, another, whatever situation. So it's definitely rewarding in different ways.
Yeah.
So to be very diplomatic, but it is true. Because the thing with listing is it's fun to get creative, like with the marketing and how can I, which photos should I use with this and really, have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great field. I had thought about it at times, but it can be, depending on where you're at in your life, it can be a little bit tough to get into because it's tough to get going, right?
Yeah.
Unless you kind of have a situation where, okay, you're getting some listings or whatever, you've got some income coming in to help you kind of weather that first 1 or 2 years of just what's probably quite a grind.
Yes. And, for anyone, so I can just share how I kind of transitioned to a solo agent was I felt that my best track was to join a larger team. And I was a, small cog of the machine.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because in that year, I think the lead agent did at least 100 transactions. So, obviously I wasn't negotiating things, but I was in the business and I got to see I got to participate in 100 transactions versus the average first year agent maybe does 6.
Yeah, I was going to guess 4.
Yeah, I think 6 is a goal.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty cool.
So that was, so that gave me enough confidence to, then I actually joined, because I'm kind of more of a baby steps kind of person. So I didn't want to just go completely out on my own. So I kind of worked with a more seasoned agent, sort of as like a junior agent to her, and then actually started getting transactions under my belt, but we would share, clients and stuff. And then from there went out on my own. But I would say for someone, I really would recommend going the route of starting with a team.
Yeah, I think that's good advice.
Yeah. And then from there, if you absolutely hate it, or if you're like, I can do it, then great, go for it. But I just think that you will go further, faster doing it that way.
Say if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
Right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, join a team, have a mentor.
Yes.
Right? Learn the business.
Huge.
Yeah.
And that's something that I do want to eventually start doing is either doing some coaching or mentoring on the side. Because my prior brokerage, I was a mentor to an agent, and it was really, really rewarding. He would call me and I'd be like, all right, so here's what you say. It was just fun.
It is good time, yeah.
Have you ever mentored?
Yeah, I do that with like a lot of guys that I coach.
That's right, because you're doing coaching. Yeah,
most
yeah.
Of them, they're entrepreneurs. And they'll call me and it'll be like, all right, I got this one. What do you think of this? Or I got one for you. Or this is something I'm really stressed out with today. So we're able to work through it. And I give them a bunch of different strategies to try, which is cool because, let's face it, if I'm twice their age, I've been kicked in the shins more times than them and made all the mistakes there are to make usually. So I'm like, okay, how can I help you avoid some of these mistakes? So,
it's funny because, when you're going in it, when you're that, newer agent or newer in the business entrepreneur, you feel like what you're going through is so unique to you and so like,
only
oh my God, yes, anyone's, and then there's something both like gratifying and humbling to be like, oh, okay.
I didn't invent this.
Right.
Nobody died. We got this. That's what I always say. Deep breaths. We got this. So, you're clearly successful as a real estate broker. That's awesome. What would you, if I asked you, what's your definition of success? And it could be personal, professional. What would you say?
I would say living a life by design. and really being intentional with, does my vision and my values align with my professional and personal lifestyle?
Yeah. No, that's cool. We talk a lot about like code of conduct and core values and that kind of stuff in the personal development arena. And it's caused me to really look at that kind of stuff. Like how do I really show up for people? And am I with somebody? Am I listening? Am I scrolling on my phone or whatever? And, you know, one of the questions I posed to a group that I did a talk for last week was like, who needs more of you? You know, and a couple of them like, you know, like you might think you're doing great, but you know, who needs more of you? And it's not like I don't say it to overwhelm somebody, but like, are you giving back? Right. And that can be like to your girls or, you know, to your family, your folks, whatever. Or like you said, mentoring some younger broker or some newer broker that could be older in the business and just helping out and giving back, sharing what you know.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, contribution, I think, is such a key to fulfillment, in my opinion, because at least there's something, because not only do you feel good, but you see someone else feeling good, and then it's just like magnified. So why not?
Yeah, one of the slides I had on my talk was I said, I want to inspire people. I want to be the reason somebody doesn't give up.
Oh, I love that.
It was kind of cool. I liked that. I stole that from someone, but it was kind of resonated with me. And I've had a few people say that to me. Like, you know, because of you, I went out and did my thing, or because of all the stuff you post. And so that's pretty cool. So if you jump into that arena, kudos to you, because it can be very gratifying.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. I mean, that's something that I 100% plan to get into at some point. It's just, you know, with 2 girls in college, I still have to focus on production.
Keep sending money, baby. You pick out the phone. How much do you need?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, the good part, at least, I'd like to think for my girls, is they saw me build my business from nothing. You know, I didn't grow up in Maine. I don't have this huge extended family that I can lean on. It was just truly through grit, hard work, and determination.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good for you. That's good. What's an ideal day for you? Typical day or ideal day? You know, obviously it starts with a workout.
It starts with a workout. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. And then my ideal, if we're really going to go my ideal day would be the workout, and then cold plunge, sauna, infrared sauna. So again, the whole health, wellness, little time for some meditation, gratitude. So have my kind of morning routine, and then mornings then would be for me like really doing kind of lead follow-up where I'm kind of putting things together, and then afternoons would be some appointments, but also being done by and actually shutting things down by, let's just say 6.
Wow. Do you have time?
That doesn't happen.
Do you ever do you put it on silent, or do you flip it over face down? No.
It's very, no.
It's hard when you have kids too. If they're out, how far away are they in school? Are they?
So, my older one is in Rhode Island at Bryant University. And my younger one is here in Portland going to SMCC. Okay. But we've all shared our locations, and we're just a very tight threesome.
I'll get a text from Bailey. What are you doing in New Hampshire? I'm like,
yes.
I don't know if I really like this.
I know. Actually, that's very funny that you say that, because my girls will track me as well.
It's something flipped here. You know?
Yes.
And how come they didn't have this when you were in high school?
Yeah. It is funny. Technology piece. I'd say a blessing and a curse, but it's probably. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I'm not sure what the ratio is. It'll be different on any given day, blessing versus curse.
Yeah, when I was out in San Diego, one of the people that I was with, her daughter was involved in an accident.
Oh, no.
In the middle of the night. She's okay. She got hurt, her nose got cut. But she got a text on her phone saying there's been an accident. And before she even got informed of the accident by her daughter, she was notified because she had the tracker of the location or whatever. I'm not sure what the technology was in place. But she got that in the middle of the night saying, your kid's been in an accident.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so,
wow.
You don't want to get those phone calls. It's not good. So, well, usually at the end, I kind of open it up to whoever I'm interviewing and say, the floor is yours. You got a bunch of people listening. More and more people watch this all the time. What would you say to whether it's a new broker or somebody, an entrepreneur or a young person getting into real estate or just somebody that's looking to be more healthy and fit? When you grumble about stuff and say, I wish I could say that to more people, what would that be?
It'd be two things really. And this is something that Tony Robbins talks a lot about, that success is 80% psychology, 20% implementation. So if you really kind of let that sink in, it really helps you get away from the tyranny of how am I going to do this, how am I going to do that, and really getting your mindset straight. And especially being an entrepreneur, because you're not going to fire yourself.
Right.
So
You're stuck with yourself.
You're stuck with yourself. So what you say to yourself day in and day out matters. And, your self-talk matters, and really addressing that and really getting, really kind of up-leveling that and really being mindful. You've got to stand guard at the gates of your mind. That's what Tony says. I'm a big fan. Yeah. And that's huge. And this, Tony has interviewed, successful billionaires. For him to say 80% psychology, whether or not I'm like, well, this maybe it's more like 60-40, but regardless, it's a huge part. So I think, that's in the end, that's what makes or breaks you.
Yeah, it's above the shoulders, right? That's where the real game's being played.
It really is.
6 inches between your ears, as they say. Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting because, having agents or clients or people who aren't really on top of their mental mindset, and they're super negative and this and that. Well, gosh darn it, don't you know? The crappy things end up happening to them. And I'm not saying that they make it happen, but there's obviously, to me, on some level, it just brews.
It's funny how that works, right?
It really is. I don't know how it works. I'm just noting it is something
you're better off to think positively than negatively, because you get more of what you focus on.
Right.
And believe that. And if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's cool. I haven't watched a bunch of Tony stuff. I've like Ed Milet, Lewis House.
Yes.
Those guys.
Love them. Love them.
Love those podcasts.
Yeah, me too.
It's been a big part of my development over the last couple of years. And what I would add to that is implementation. We were talking about that with another guy that was on the podcast. Just you can consume all of that stuff as much as you want. But what are you doing with it?
So true. So true. Because I actually, and I'm glad you're saying that, because I definitely could be one to take more information or think I need to do more research.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get in the truck. I'm like, okay, 37-minute drive. And I'm like, okay, Ed Milet. It's 38-minute podcast. Yep. Perfect. Like, I don't know when the last time I listened to the radio in my vehicle.
Oh, yeah. No, I never do.
And I like music. But it's funny when you get in that mode when you're looking to just, okay, what can I do? How can I move the needle this week or today or whatever? So, cool. We're pretty on the same path that way. It's kind of cool. Everybody else looks at me and goes, what are you doing all that stuff for? And I'm like, trying to be better.
Yeah. That's the thing is that, why not? Again, we're stuck with ourselves our whole life. So,
and how many people, as you get older, like stop growing, right?
So many.
Personally, they're like, they kind of,
they're just like, I am what I am.
Top out. Yeah, I deal with it. It's probably why a lot of marriages end, right? Yeah. Because people are like, well, hey, this is me. Deal with it. I'm not going to change.
Exactly.
I always say leopards don't change their spots, and I think that to some degree that's true. But I'm trying to get better all the time. And I think as you kind of increase your self-awareness, you start looking around like, oh, okay, I might not need to respond quite that way. Or I can still say that same thing tomorrow.
Right.
I don't have to say that today.
Yeah.
And probably better I don't. Better I sleep on that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I would agree. I am an optimist to a fault, so I would say leopards don't change their spots unless they make a very, very concerted effort.
Concerted effort. Right. All right. I'll go with you on that. Because I wouldn't want to be pigeonholed that way. Like, somebody give up on me.
Right. But it is, making some type of change on your mindset, your outlook, or, is going to require, a significant effort.
It's some work.
Yeah.
And I think it's ongoing. It's not like, oh, where's the end of this path?
Right.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah.
You're just on it. and I try to surround myself with other people that are on it on some level.
Yes.
At least working on it.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Because everybody's got something going. Everybody's got shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but if you're working on it, then all right.
Yeah.
But don't have this thing that is just there, and you're just like, yeah, that's me.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how I am. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, toodaloo.
So then you're like, okay, you do you. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do me. So,
All right. Well, it was
thank
great
you.
having you.
Thank you so much. I really
it's-
appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. It's good to get to know you a little bit and swap some stories and all that. Guys, this has been Heather Mayer, the Summit Podcast. I'm Bob Turner. I want to thank Mitchell Powers Promotions. Thanks for having us here at the Content Room. If you're looking to shoot video for your business or come in and do a podcast or do an interview, this is the place to do it. Mitchell will set you up and you can hammer through it. I want to thank Ryan at Turner Builders for putting up with me being out of the office for a little bit and doing this kind of stuff, and allowing me to kind of work on things like this and kind of create stuff for other people. We have a Facebook group called The Summit. If you haven't checked that out, send me a DM and I'll get you invited to that. That's up over 515 people now. So
Awesome.
it's kind of putting together a community where we can just be more positive and kind of bring a little bit of positive flow to the world. So we're loving that. So I think that's all the things I was supposed to mention. I put my iPad down a minute ago, so I have no clue. So Heather, thanks a lot. Appreciate you being here. And thank you guys for watching another episode of The Summit. We'll be back next week. Take care.